Sitaram, welcome to Sankhya TV on your program SWA DHARMA, carried weekly on Thursdays as usual from 6:30 to 7 p.m. SWA DHARMA, where we try to where we share information on founding principles on Sanatana Dharma using approved references. So we are on our journey on the Saamskaras, 16 in number in this era, 3 being prenatal, the other 13 being postnatal. We are on the Saamskar VIDYAARAMBHA Sanskar, which is also sometimes referred to as Aksharabhyas Sanskar. And this deals basically with the beginning of academic training, the schooling of the child. VIDYAARAMBHA Sanskar being Sanskar number 11 may proceed Upnayan or the Janev Samskar. Remember, it is at the Upnayan Samskar where a guru, a Diksha guru, is taken in, is adopted by that guru, adopting the chela or the disciple. However, especially in the times we are in, the children may begin schooling at the preschool level before 5 years. And as we have discussed when we are talking about Upnayan Samskar, it may not be the appropriate time to have the guru-chela relationship concretized. Just a quick reminder, we had established, hopefully, that the child ought to be at a certain age where wider concepts of the world are understood or are correct with, when the guru's input is appreciated more by that chela, by that disciple, and hence the bond is established during Upnayan Sanskar. So at this point in time, the child is guided by the Purohit of the home, the Pandit of the home. And it's important to start on a proper date, that is the schooling of the child. And this is from a preschool level, below 5. And special attention has to be given to the constellation. Remember, this ushers in the entire educational process of that child, male or female. And it's absolutely important. It's a day which one has to be meticulous about, or one's pandit has to be meticulous about, so that the child proverbially will take like doctor water when the educational process starts. And it is that is heavily influenced by the timing, more so the constellation or the nakshatra under which the child begins his or her schooling. As is appreciated or ought to be appreciated, puja has to be done. Adulation has to be given to the deities who represent certain particular traits, facets of that one supreme, and they have to be given that necessary, seek the necessary blessing as the educational process begins. Of course, we have Bhagwan Ganesh, Saraswati Mata, and Sri Hanuman. In the case of Bhagwan Ganesh, among his portfolio, among his blessings, we seek to get his blessings to surmount whatever obstacles might present themselves in the entire educational life of the child. Sometimes physically the child might not be well, sometimes the relationship between tutor and student is not all that well, and the child has to deal with these and other obstacles. So in his capacity as the surmounter, whose blessings help us to surmount obstacles, we go to Bhagwan Ganesh. We go to Mother Saraswati because she is the goddess of learning, among other blessings that she carries. And the process of learning, it's absolutely important in the life of all students, and we are all students in life, whether we are confined within the walls of an academic institution or we are within the home environment. There are always things to learn, there are always processes to expedite, and it must never stop. And because of that, premised on that, we seek the blessings of Mother Saraswati, that we'll always have that urge to learn and not necessarily be pushed to learn, as sometimes parents get into the conversation with the children, go do your homework, go do your home lesson. The ideal student, we want that he or she does not have to be pushed in that direction. By Saraswati Mata's blessing, he or she, that student, has that thirst to learn. And of course, Hanumanji, who among his blessings as far as education is concerned, his blessings takes care that one is not faced by challenges. Sometimes a student may be well prepared for an examination, revised his or her work, and went over and over, did past papers, etc. Yet, upon glancing at possibly the first question on the paper, the child is faced, the child is challenged, and so loses touch, loses that cutting edge in his or her revision. And so we seek out the blessings of Hanuman Baba in the educational process, so that child, when faced with challenges, will stand his or her ground and tap into the resources provided by how intense they prepare themselves for examination. The actual starting of school life, apart from the constellation, there are certain important factors. One, Uttarayan, when the sun is in its northerly course. Now, we might quickly argue that a school term, an academic year, begins around September in this country. But remember, at the preschool level, when education is formally started, we have some sort of leeway and option where the child could be brought into the educational institution maybe in the second term or the third term. So Uttarayan will encompass the second and the third terms, and it's not a problem, as we have seen, that we can indicate to the principal of the institution that you would like the child to begin during this period, roughly mid-January to mid-July. If coincidentally Basant Panchami, that propitious day for the worship of Mother Saraswati, which falls within the northerly course of the sun, the factors are favorable, constellation, etc., then it will be the most favorable day for a child to begin his or her educational life. There are periods to avoid in Uttarayan, periods like Kalmas, which is towards the end, the last 15 days of the Hindu year, which finishes approximately in the month of March on the English calendar. It is known as Chaitra in the Hindu calendar. And even a bit before Kalmas is not a propitious period, so we've got to avoid that. Then the beginning of the Hindu New Year, which follows Kalmas, which is known as Nauratra. There the sun is still stabilizing its position. It is also not a propitious time. Nauratra is propitious for the worship of Devi for manifold reasons. But as far as initiating the educational process of a child, it's a no-no. And very important, the days of the week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Tuesdays are left out to begin educational processes and educational life. Tuesdays, that day carries its 40. But in the case of education, it does not factor. And these are some of the points, basic points, which we can remember when we are making preparation to have the little child at home enter school life, Montessori, as it were, and the balance, the fine-tuning of the calculations, we can allow the Purohit or the Guru, if relevant, whichever one, to identify the actual date. Now, we get into a little finer detail to extrapolate a certain point that we need to be cognizant of. Don't be bothered by the Hindi and the numbers here. We will walk through, the Vidyalaya will walk through, as we have always done, the times to how tricky these calculations can be and what we need to pay attention to. Why it's absolutely important to allow the Purohit to get involved in the bigger scheme of things. Take, for instance, this last day here, which will be the 13th of July this year. The sun has not yet turned, so it satisfies the northerly course of the sun. So we are thinking maybe I should start my 3-year-old in Montessori on this day, which is the 13th of July. So we see it's a Friday. That's fine. We see that the Tithi, those schools usually start at around 9 a.m. So we would have been through that. So we are into the first phase of the moon. That is quite very beautiful nakshatra, constellation, which we harped upon as very important, as pivotal to the child's education. Punarvasu. So that's a good. Vyaghat, that has a little gray area, but that has passed from the astrology. So, and the Karan is Nag. So we see there that it seems as though the 5 major factors, 6 in this case, that are instrumental in finding a date for that child are covered. And that is why we say we always have to allow the pundit to put the final touches, because there is a period, a mathematical formula that shows that though all the factors apparently are good for the child to start his or her education, this one here has a drawback in it, a mathematical defect as it were. And so the day is circumvented and another day is chosen. So we just wanted to pronounce on the point that this is the beginning of the child's school life. Be meticulous about it. So we just quickly give a broad purview of what the parent could put into place, and then leave the final touches to one's purohit, because these finer chinks in the link towards education can be detected and can be removed. Important too, so we have got the date to start the child at school, we have got the child registered sometime before, on an approved date too, the actual start of school. And this is important, what direction one goes at first, for the first day, the first journey to school. What are the maneuvers one must undertake? We give an example here. Across the board, on a Monday, it is not propitious to go towards the easterly direction. We cannot avoid it. Sometimes if the school is in the east, we have to go. If our work environment or workplace is on the east of us and we have to head that direction, it cannot be avoided. We have to go to work, we have to go to school. So there's a little provision that if one goes towards the north, so we make a little detour. We are carrying the child to school, we make a little detour towards the north. And pause, as we have mentioned and illustrated in previous programs, get to the side of the road in the vehicle and pause, a safe part, just pause and offer the relevant prayers. In this case, it will be the relevant prayer to Bhagwan Ganesh when he sits on the north, the relevant prayer to Mother Saraswati when she too sits on the north, and the relevant prayer to Sri Hanuman. And that quick 10-second interval and pause in a northerly direction, we then turn around and head towards the school. That annuls the dangers of going east on a Monday. As we say, not only for the first day of school, but across the board, when we have to make journeys towards the east, work or otherwise, we have to go in an easterly direction on a Monday. One of the main things to do is head to the north first. If it's a journey of major consequence, as in the case of beginning school, one touches base with his or her pundit, and they will also look at things like the phase of the moon. Neither the first nor the ninth phase of the moon is propitious on a Monday. So we are given times to specific times, or what he might tell you, well, make it a northeasterly direction or make it a northwest direction, as the case may be. But across the board, we can make this maneuver. When it's important things, we pay heed and ask for the pundit's input for the final touches, because this is the first trek the child makes in the educational life. We go further into that because it's absolutely important. Remember, the children are the future, and their academic conquests and successes shapes the type of comfort zone that child will find themselves in, and it shapes how that child may be able to take care of the future of that dynasty. So the education is very important. So apart from choosing the day of starting, apart from checking direction, we also initiate the actual journey at certain specific times. A bit of this was done in the Vidyaalay's workshop some time back. We have given snippets of it in previous programs, but it's always good to reiterate and endorse and get to the viewer's mind the clarity that we are seeking. And most times school will start on a Monday. And if between 4 to 5 a.m. we could take something, maybe the school bag or something the child is going to carry to school, and put it in the vehicle. If the child is being transported, you touch base with your purohit. He will tell you, well, in the direction of your home or apartment, where you take that book bag and where you put it, and take it up from there when the vehicle comes to take the child. If you are carrying the child, well, whenever you leave home, you take it up from that point, because it is already in the car the appropriate time. And that has to do, that is directly related. Timing of journeys is directly related to the grahas. In particular, a certain one of the grahas who really is, for want of a better expression, the Minister of Transport. He sees about journeys. So if we initiate a journey when he prevails, it augurs well for not only the school life, but across the board for whatever undertaking we may have to go by. If that is, it's an early call on a Monday. If that is too early, then the Sunday preceding, the Sunday night, between 9 and 10 p.m., the same thing can be done. The book bag can be moved in a certain direction, or if the child is going with our own transportation, the book bag is put in the vehicle on Sunday night and secured. This is assuming that sunrise is 6 a.m. We have given examples. If the sunrise is before or after 6, the necessary mathematical adjustments you make. If you can't do it, the Vidyalaya is always there to help and point the way. Our calendar, which can be located at www.svvtt.com calendar, you'll get the calculations worked out there for you. And in addition to all these little maneuvers, it is the Upanishads have declared that what we eat and partake of influences the thought process. And each day of the week, there are certain recommendations what we should take before we set out. Whether we are going to school for the first time, whether we are going to work, whether we are going to simply run an errand. Because there are risks, accidents and otherwise, God forbid, that can happen in an errand. And so we are told, and this is across the board, milk is a good, is good to put in the mouth right before the journey. And if it's the first journey of the day, even before breakfast, we take that milk in the specified direction. In this case, the example we use, the child will be facing north, and that milk is sipped. And the same three mantras pertaining to Ganesh Baba, Saraswati Mata, and Sri Hanuman, which we talked about when you stop on the journey, it's the same three mantras are recited. The milk is taken after they are recited. The educational process as recommended by Sanatana Dharma, it ought to be holistic. And by this we mean along the academics, there should be some points in the child's schooling that the Vedic knowledge the child is also made privy to, or bits of it, or the founding principles. So the child works within a perimeter that he or she can grasp certain Vedic knowledge, and Vedic knowledge is universal in concept. It is not the ambit of Hindus, it is the ambit, it is the possession of the world. And quickly, the 6 limbs of this Vedic knowledge is Shiksha, where we have from the Vedas teachings on morality, on discipline, on respect for elders. And they all have examples because the 18 Puranas explain the abstract knowledge and abstract laws of the Vedas. It is the Puranas as basically Bhakt and Bhagwan, God and devotee, enacting these very teachings. Then there is Kalp, a chronology of events. That in Sanatana Dharma there are 28 rounds of creation. When the 28th comes, be back to number 1 round of creation. Right now, as we would see, each age has 4.32, is in length is 4.32 billion years. So each kalp, it's 4.32 billion years, and so we have a chronology of events. When great kings strode across the world, and what were the events attached to them, that is all chronicled in Sanatana Dharma, especially the Puranas. Then there is Vyakaran or grammar, and we know the different styles of writing in English, and mind you, all of these, as we have many times pointed out in satsang, all these styles of grammar, they are lettered and penned in the Vedas. You talk about alliteration, we have numerous examples of alliteration, metaphors, similes. Oh, Ramayana is filled and riddled with metaphors and similes. So, grammar lends beauty, lends finesse to language. And the Vyakaran or that grammar is very thoroughly discussed in Vedic terms. Then we have Nirukta. They cater for the explanation of obscure words. Remember, literature is done in parables, It's done in deep, profound language. So sometimes there's got to be a bit of obscurity in pronouncements. The Nirukt aspect of Vedic knowledge takes care of that. We have Chand, which is a meter. Just as we have a Chaupai and a Doha, and they chant it in different melodies, so too the mantras and incantations of the Vedas, they carry certain meters, and they are not just rhythm and melody. They touch certain chakras in the body, and that releases the energy. Jyotish, which is the scientific astral deductions. Now, we have carried in many of the programs this facet of Vedic knowledge, because it is not that the stars dictate to us what to do and what not to do. It's the other way around. It is we enhance the data from the rays and radiation from the luminaries, not only the stars, the planets, and observed over centuries how they impact upon social behavior, how they impact upon nature, and in that way we enhance that those inferences and put it to benefit in our lives. So rather, it is we who use the inputs of the luminaries to better our lives. In our usual modus operandi, we reference Balkand of Ramayana. Here, describing the Lord's tuition, the Lord when he encountered his Ram at the feet of his Guru Vasishta. A description is quickly given here of his student life. Guru Griha Gai Parhan Ragurai Alpakal Vidyasabha Ai. It is said that Sri Ramchandra studied at the Gurukul ashram of his Guru Vasishta, and in a very short space of time he was conversant with all the branches of knowledge. There are 64 branches of knowledge. Sri Ramchandra, he accomplished not because of his divinity, but he showed the world, because he took the part of a mere mortal, he showed the world the attitude that a student should adopt. That the student in his or her school life has to be focused. There has got to be extracurricular activities which complements the academic life, but at the end of the day, the student, an ideal student, does not allow time for much distractions. And that was the type of student Sri Ram was that made him successful. What type of tutor was Guru Vasishta? Guru Vasishta, foremost among the gurus of the world, the son of the mind-born son of Brahma, who was not only recognized in Ram's era, but in the entire dynasty. His academic prowess, apart from his spiritual power, was recognized by the Raghukul as the ideal teacher who taught by example. And in that type of environment, added to the fact that when Sri Ram was sent to for his schooling, the mighty Emperor Dashrath, who reigned over the empire, did not interfere in the educational process. So the parents do have a role to play. We leave it in the capable hands of the educational institution. If we have concerns about it, there's a civil manner and an environment where to raise those concerns. So with such background, Sri Ramchandra was able to embrace the 64 branches of knowledge. In Sanatana Dharma, among that, there are 6 schools of philosophy. We have quickly Nyaya, which is jurisprudence; Vaisheshik, which is one analyzes the characteristics of that which exists; Samkhya, the mathematics of Sanatana Dharma; Yoga, where there is concerted efforts to have union with God; Purva Mimamsa, where we examine the rituals; and Uttara Mimamsa, where we take cognizance of the pathway for final liberation. Just small examples of these intense texts and schools of philosophy. So, as promised, in the recent series of programs leading up to Diwali on Wednesday, 7th November 2018, because there's a bit of concerns and the date being declared Tuesday, the 6th of November as Diwali, we continue to hopefully make the necessary clarification to show the viewer that and understand that Diwali is no other date in 2018 but Wednesday, the 7th November. So we look at the calculations at a different angle. Each phase of the moon which is known as a Tithi, is governed by a specific projection of the Supreme. So Diwali is the 15th phase of the moon, and in the month of Kartik, normally on the 15th phase of the moon, the projection of God that prevails is Aryamadeva. Aryamadeva is the link between the mortals and the Pitra world, where our offerings go to our ancestors. But in the month of Kartik, on that same 15th phase of the moon, Lakshmi Mata, she came out of the churning of the ocean, her birth, as it were. And Lakshmi Mata, just as Arima is the link between the mortals and the Pitras, Lakshmi Mata came to the world by God's blessings to show the world, to imbibe, to appreciate what is prosperity, or as we say in Hindi, unnati. And the Devtas and Devis, they highlight certain specific aspects of the Supreme. So Aryama on Kartik month in Amavasya in the moon prevails, and more so Lakshmi Mata prevails. Now on Tuesday, the assumed date of Diwali, which is incorrect as we are showing, it heralds the 14th phase of the moon. And the 14th phase of the moon is not prevailed over by Mother Lakshmi. It is prevailed over by Bhagwan Shiva, who obviously we need to puja too. But we are seeking Mother Lakshmi's blessing on the appropriate date for that prosperity, not only to enter selfishly our life, but to be with our society, to grace the nation, for upliftment of all. This 14th phase of the moon in Kartik also commemorates Narak Chaturdashi, the day that when Narakasura was destroyed by Bhagwan Krishna. So there is a celebration for that too, commemoration of that day. And in one round of creation, Sri Hanuman came on that day, as opposed to the full moon following the incarnation of Bhagwan Sri Ramchandra in the month of Chaitra. Remember we were speaking about 4.22 billion years, one round of creation. So the avatars do happen, but they happen with slight variations. And in South India, this has been the concern of some, that sometimes there is division in India itself about Diwali's date. No, there's no division about the Diwali date. South India acknowledges that Diwali is always the day following Narak Chaturdashi. So their big celebration in the 5 days of Diwali, that is South India, most of South India, is the day before Diwali. They acknowledge that the day following Diwali, the day following is Diwali. But their celebration, their thrust in their worship is on the Chaturdashi, Narak Chaturdashi. So that is the division. It's just the same dates acknowledged, but celebrations differ, or timing of celebrations differ. The south part goes for Narak Chaturdashi, the north part of India goes for Diwali, each day succeeding the other. There's also been an argument or point put forward that every day should be Mother Lakshmi's day. But then by extension, we say every day should be Mother's Day. Agreed. So the energy exhibited on the designated day is not repeated on any other days. All the preparations, all the gifts, etc., all the nice compliments we bestow on Mother's Day, we might sparingly do it on other days, but the energy is honed in on the designated days. So that is why, in a like manner, Lakshmi Mata, yes, we should honor her every day. But when we get ourselves together and make the necessary preparation, we are looking at one specific day. So once more, we thank you for joining us on SWA Dharma, carried exclusively on Sankhya TV. And by God's grace, we'll meet and greet in our next session in the upcoming week. Sitaram.